So, how do we shift from stressful to heartful? I'm going to talk about that and share with you 4 tips on how to live a heart centered life. Okay, stressful was literally the theme of my life many years back. And on the outside, it seemed like I had it all, a busy, successful cardiologist, multiple leadership roles, faculty speaker at international conferences, a loving family, healthy and fit. I mean, seemed perfect, right? But on the inside, I was literally struggling. Everything was so stressful. Everything felt so fast paced. I felt like I was constantly running on the treadmill. There was so much to do and not enough time. And I was putting so much pressure on myself to, do it all. First of all, the job of a cardiologist is pretty demanding. Life and death emergencies, long working hours, heavy call burden, sleepless nights. And I was trying to balance that with my family and all the other roles and responsibilities that I had. And me time seemed literally insignificant or irrelevant, to be more honest. I would get to some kind of a me time at the end of the day only if there was time, and that seemed almost never. And so that's because at that time I was living my life believing that my purpose was to put everyone else and everything first before me, that I'm here to serve, that I'm here to fulfill my roles and responsibilities. And I was that yes person, yes to everything, yes to everyone who needed anything. And I thought my role was to make everyone happy, make the world happy. So, yeah, of course, I was like totally overwhelmed, pressure, so much pressure. I was putting myself anxious. I was stretched out thin. I was pulled in 1,000 directions. I mean, no wonder I had a stressful life, right? Now, what I didn't know at that time is that most of the stress that I was experiencing was actually my own making. I just didn't know it. I just didn't have that awareness that so much of the reason that I was stressed was because of these internal patterns that it came from within me that I was not aware of, that were creating the stress that I was complaining about. Patterns like workaholism, overachiever, perfectionism, people pleaser, yes sayer, self sacrifice. Sound familiar? It's like a lot of women have this, right? And men. Um, and so a lot of these became the way that I was living my life and the way that I had built my life upon. It was a foundation. And this was what was causing so much of the stress that I was living my life, right? Um, and this went on for decades until something happened that completely changed my life. It was a complete 180 when I developed severe back pain. I could barely walk and burnout. And this thrust me into a life crisis that I experienced where I was in so much pain. I was anxious, I was depressed, I was confused, and I started asking these existential questions of what was I really doing in my life? Like, what was the meaning? What was the purpose? And that was actually the greatest gift, the greatest blessing, this crisis, because it kind of helped me to stop. Life had brought me to a stop because of the back pain. I could barely walk. So I stopped all the doing and the running and I started being. I started being present to myself, to my life. I started bringing conscious awareness to myself and my life. And I started realizing that so much of the stress that I was experiencing, the predominant root cause was that it was related, directly related to the misalignment from my authentic self, which my authentic self, I mean, I didn't even know what that was. I never spent time with myself to even understand that. And so there was a big journey that I took that was back, brought me back into my authentic path of the heart. And as a cardiologist, I cannot emphasize enough just how negative the impact of stress, ignored and cumulative stress, has on our health, our relationships, our well being, the inner peace, and traps us in negative thought patterns and anxiety. And this is not healthy. And so there's a different way of living life that I want to bring into your awareness based on my own journey that is available to all of us when experienced from the heart, based on truth and love and conscious awareness. So, these are the 4 tips that I'm going to share with you that literally changed my entire life from inside out. And it was all about what I did for myself. So, I'm going to share these with you. The first one, so powerful. I mean, wow, So powerful. First tip is you need to put yourself first. You need to put yourself first, not second, not last, not after everyone else, not at the end of the day, only if there's time. Living a heart centered life means that you are leading with your heart, which means that you got to put your heart first. You got to put you first in the driver's seat. So that means you got to cast aside all these conditioned beliefs that you first is is selfish or wrong. I mean, who the heck came up with that anyway? The only thing that happens whenever we put ourselves last is that we're living out this message that we're not worthy. I mean, that's so not true. So the paradigm shift that I have for you is you first. You are meant to honor your needs, wants, and desires before attending to others. You are worthy of that. You are deserving. And that's what self-love really means. It means you got to fill your cup first before you fill up others. So the action step for this one that I have for you is before you start the day, every single morning, take time. I'm going to call this you time. This is non-negotiable you time. Okay, I do this for myself every single morning. There is not one day that I haven't done this. I schedule my non-negotiable me time, okay? And the non-negotiable you time, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's that time that's sacred, that's precious. You put boundaries around it, you honor it. And in that time, you just do something for yourself that you love. So make a list of what are some things that you really love, that you enjoy, and make a list, circle one of those things, and do one for yourself and start right away. That's step number one. Tip number one. Tip number two is embrace self-reflection. Embrace self-reflection. Yeah, you got to come out of the busyness and the doingness, no matter how busy, no matter how much you feel like you need to do, and make space for self-reflection. You cannot have a heart-centered life without bringing in self-reflection. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule you and you will call it fate. So until you do that, what will happen is all the stresses that you're experiencing, it's on the surface, on the outside. It may seem that it's because of those negative people out there or those unfavorable circumstances or, bad luck or why is this happening to me kind of mentality. We've all been there. But if you were to go deeper than that, you'll discover beneath the surface, if you go deeper and you start bringing self-reflection in the depth beneath the surface, you'll discover that a lot of the stress that you're experiencing comes from yourself. It's just hidden from the awareness. It's just unconscious, which is why we got to make it conscious. Otherwise, it will continue to rule us. There's so much of the stress that is coming from that inner mental chatter. We all have it. That chatter, 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 that's all negative and judgmental. It's the inner critic. We all have it. Don't believe your thoughts, okay? Or the limiting beliefs. So much of the limiting negative beliefs, we all have them, related to unworthiness, not enoughness. There's no person on this planet who doesn't have it. It's just that it's hidden so deep in the subconscious. It's hidden from the awareness and it's driving us until we bring it out and make it conscious. Also, the negative and self-sabotaging patterns and habits. A lot of these have been accumulated and accrued from early childhood years and over the course of time. And until we bring these into the awareness, all of these will continue to rule us. So that's why I invite you to the space of self-reflection. And in self-reflection, you take all these things that are in the unconscious and you make them conscious. And now when you make them conscious and you bring them into conscious awareness, now you reveal them to yourself. Now you can deal with them. Now you can choose, do I choose these? Or do I choose what's really authentic and loving and true to me? You have a choice, and this is how you get to liberate yourself from these negative, unhealthy, unserving patterns. So my tip for this one is, my action step is, make a list, sit with yourself, journal, just journal and self-reflection and consider what are five habits or negative patterns that you have that are not healthy, not serving, and not loving to you. What are those 5 things? And then circle one of those and let it go. Commit to yourself that you're going to let it go. Otherwise, you'll continue. It'll continue to sabotage you. Okay, number 3, tip number 3, meditate daily to uncover and experience your true self. Now, meditation is not meant to be a torture. So many people are saying how they find it hard to sit still. It's so difficult. It's so hard. It's not fun. And so that means they're not doing it right, because meditation, I mean, if the problem is that there's this notion that you have to stop thinking, and it's like telling your heart, stop beating, or that you have to follow all these rules in order to have proper meditation. I mean, that would drive me crazy. I would be totally stressed. Meditation is literally, all it means is that you are coming out, stepping out of the busyness of the doing, and coming into the beingness. We are human beings. That's why we're called human beings, not human doings. Meditation is simply you being with the experience of being with your authentic, true self, who you really are beneath all the layers. We all have these layers that we identify with, everyone, every single person on this planet. And that's not who we are. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your fears or your limitations or the labels or your titles. You are none of that. Who you are is beneath all of that, the deeper self, the deeper loving presence, light that you can't even really identify or label. It's only something that you can experience and feel with your heart. And in the stillness of your heart, you're able to discover the answers to your deepest and greatest questions, which, by the way, only your heart knows. Nobody knows these. Only your heart knows what's right for you. Only your heart has the key to yourself, your next steps, your purpose, your path, your answers. Not anyone else other than you and your heart. So based on this, the action step is meditate every morning. Get into that presence. And you may want to go out in the nature. Nature brings you out into your true nature, and when you're in that state of deep connection and presence, bring in a question that you have that you need an answer to, and then listen. Don't grab for it. Just listen, receive, and trust it. Okay, tip number 4. Tip number 4 is my very favorite one, because I think this is so powerful to create aligned action. Tip number 4 is take heart-aligned action. Take heart-aligned action. So many times people know what they need to do, but they don't do it. Nothing happens if it's not applied. Please take heart-aligned action. Do not let external standards, other people's opinions, other people's agendas, or the safety, what's safe, or the shoot in your mind, don't let that dictate your life path, because the only thing that will happen is that it's going to steer you away from your authentic truth. And this misalignment is bound to, at some point, result in unfulfillment, conflict, stress, anxiety. That's what happens. And when this happens again and again, accumulated, it literally brings you, this misalignment brings you into a state of crisis. A lot of the life crises that happen is just accumulated misalignments that are added up again and again and again. And that's when it hits the person. And by the way, if you are in some kind of a crisis, or you've been there, use the crisis as a portal, as an invitation to come to take an assessment into what is really your truth, and what do you need to do in your life to get in alignment with your authentic truth. So here it is. Take an honest assessment, an honest look at your life, and consider, where are you compared to what do you really want to be, and let your heart guide you. So consider, what do you want for yourself in the areas of your life, in your health, in your self-development, in your relationships, in your career and purpose? What do you really want? What do you really want? What ignites your passion? What dreams and desires have you been putting off and postponing? So much of our dreams and desires are lying outside of the comfort zone. So the invitation is to not let that be a barrier, but stretch and trust that alignment. So here's invitation as a last step is sit with yourself, connect with your heart, and really consider, look at yourself in your life. Consider the areas of your life, yourself, your personal self, your personal growth. Number two, your health and fitness level, your relationships, your career, your purpose. Where are you there? What would you like for yourself? Discover that. And once you know, ask yourself, what is one step that you can take to align your life, to align with what you know that you want? One step at a time. That's what I encourage you to do. I hope these 4 tips helped. I promise you that if you do these 4 tips and you practice them, if you practice them like rituals, these are going to literally change the way that you experience your life, the way you live your life, so that you can have really, truly an authentic, powerful, alive experience within yourself, living from the truth and from the love of your heart. This is what creates coherence, health, vitality, alignment. I hope these helped, and go out there and have a beautiful, heartful life.